everyone. Today I will be presenting my work on flatnet longitudinal brain graph evolution prediction from a field training representative templates. This work has been done at Basira Lab by myself, Ahmet Nebli, and supervised by Dr. Islam Rekik. In most of the brain graph prediction evolution methods, the model is trained with all of the training data to obtain the brain graph Tn from a baseline time point T0. Unfortunately, this approach is time and data consuming, resulting in computationally expensive deep learning models. In addition, these methods are heavily prone to data heterogeneity. Also, not all the training data is relevant for every goal. So, in this study, we try to address these problems by investigating the best way to obtain and use the most representative samples to accurately and efficiently predict brain graph evolution trajectory over time. We think that we can disentangle data heterogeneity by clustering. We also think that obtaining cluster-specific CBTs of the acquired clusters can overcome the previously mentioned problems. There are various studies focusing on predicting brain connectivity evolution over time from a single time point. One of them is the first graph-based machine learning method to predict the longitudinal brain network evolution from a baseline time point. However, this study does not include feedback loops between its building blocks. A recent study proposed an end-to-end prediction approach to foresee brain graph evolution over time with sequentially trained, graph-based generative adversarial networks. But this framework may not deliver accurate results with small datasets. We think that we can adapt the benchmark approach Deep Graph Normalizer for obtaining cluster-specific CBTs in our framework. To learn about how gGAN works, please check the YouTube video and GitHub code. With flatnet, we propose a simple yet powerful method to accurately and efficiently predict brain graph evolution trajectory over time. First, we cluster our training data to n clusters to disentangle data heterogeneity. Next, for each cluster, we obtain a cluster-specific CBT by using an adapted version of dGAN called sdGAN. Namely, sdGAN uses single-view brain graphs in contrast to dGAN. Next, in training, we train n Evo graph nets, each on a distinct cluster-specific CBT at time point T0. Lastly, in the submodel selection step, we select the most suitable Evo graph net submodel by finding the similarities between each cluster-specific CBT and each test data by computing their differences. Here, we analyze our pre-processing phase detailedly. Giving a population of n subjects, we propose to first disentangle data heterogeneity using k-means clustering method. Next, we leverage our adapted sdGAN algorithm to learn one cluster-specific CBT at baseline time point for each cluster. Here, we have a closer look to our training phase. We train n Evo graph net submodels with n cluster-specific CBTs from a baseline time point. For each Evo graph net, the obtained cluster-specific CBT goes through a chain of n gGANs to produce a prediction at time point Tn. In each gGAN, while the generator learns how to produce imitations of the ground truth data, the discriminator learns how to discriminate between the ground truth data and the fake brain graph data produced by the generator. Lastly, we have a closer look to our submodel selection step. For each testing subject at baseline time point T0, we aim to select the most suitable Evo graph net submodel. To do so, we compute the difference between obtained n cluster-specific CBTs and each test data to examine similarities. Since similarity increases with smaller differences, we use the submodel that has been trained with the most similar cluster-specific CBT for better results. In our experiments, we used 58 subjects from the OASIS-2 longitudinal dataset. Each subject was scanned on 2 or more visits separated by at least 1 year. We evaluated our framework using threefold cross-validation, and for clustering, we set the number of clusters k to 3. To evaluate the reliability of our flatnet, we assessed our framework against 3 ablated approaches. First method uses solely our proposed sdGAN to obtain one CBT of all training data without clustering and submodel selection. Second method uses one model that is created by averaging the weights of submodels learned by training of n Evo graph nets by n cluster-specific CBTs. And the last one uses hierarchical clustering as the clustering method to observe the advantages of k-means clustering. Here we can see the mean absolute error of the predictions by our framework and the comparison methods. We performed the experiments for time points T1 and T2 from the baseline time point T0. we can see that our proposed framework outperformed each comparison methods in terms of mean MAE and in terms of the best MAE for predictions at T1 and T2. And here, we can see the node strength and eigenvector centrality mean absolute error results for the same evaluation methods. In conclusion, our proposed framework outperformed comparison methods in 3 out of 4 evaluation metrics. In summary, to accurately and efficiently predict brain graph evolution trajectory over time, we clustered the training data with k-means clustering and obtained n cluster specific CBTs to train n EvoGraphNet submodels. After selecting the best submodel for each test data, we concluded our experiments and evaluated our results against 3 comparison methods. Our framework remarkably boosted prediction accuracy with few training representative templates compared to ablated methods. In our future work, we will generalize our proposed method to handle hypergraphs. For more, please visit us at basiralab.com. Feel free to check our recent review paper on GNNs in network neuroscience covering recent GNN architectures for brain connectivity integration, classification, superresolution, and more. You can also visit the GitHub repo of the paper.